Hey from fam, welcome to the Bin Zone. On today's video, we're talking about the theory that connects Victor's dad Henry to the effigies surrounding the ancient settlement and the ancient evil that Jay just unleashed on the town by breaking this effigy. And now more than ever, I'm starting to suspect that the boy in white may be an evil entity that's actually behind everything. So guys, if you're interested in that theory and you want to find out why exactly was Randall creating an effigy on the bus, give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button and let's just dive right in. Guys, the first clue to understanding what's going on this season has been given to us since the first episode of season 3, and that's the effigies surrounding the ancient settlements. What we know from is the show leans heavily into pagan symbolism and folklore, and the key ritualistic reasons for folklore revolve around ancient magic. And From really focuses on the 3 tenets of this ancient magical folklore: dolls with Jasper, images of people / paintings like the cave paintings in the tunnels, and thirdly, effigies. Effigies throughout human history, dating back to almost 40,000 years ago, have always been used by humans for one of 2 purposes: for healing and for protection. And that's why I want to take a moment and really focus on the effigy. The protection part is really what I want to focus on, because these effigies were placed around the ancient settlement almost as though a protection to keep the creatures out. When Jim and Kenny first got there, that was the initial thought behind it. These effigies were put up by the ancient From settlers to serve the same purpose as the talismans that are supposed to keep the creatures out. However, when Kenny and Jim were inside and they still put a talisman on their door, they could hear something moving around outside. Whatever was moving around outside was old, ancient, and evil. It wasn't the modern creatures. It didn't happen just once. It also happened in season 3, episode 4. Jade, Kenny, and Christy could actually hear the creature moving around outside. Kenny confirmed this in episode 5, talking to Boyd that there's something out there. And the most wild thing about all of this is the fact that they don't know that Jade has actually destroyed one of those effigies, letting that creature loose. Because those effigies were not set up to keep the creatures out. It was actually set up as protection to keep that ancient creature locked in. And it's not lost on me that the moment Jade broke that is when all hell broke loose. Because the same night that he broke that effigy to save Christy's leg is the same night that Tabitha and Victor's dad Henry returned back to the town, and the monsters were behaving differently. And with all the creatures in town setting up the trap for the ambulance, as well as harassing Boyd and Randall, Kenny, Jade, and Christy could still hear whatever that creature was that's walking outside. And now that Jade has broken the effigy, it's loose. It's a far more ancient evil than we've ever been accustomed to so far, and that creature may have been tied to Victor's dad and his arrival. Because when we talk about ancient magic and effigies, if we switch back to the cave paintings that Victor and Miranda saw in season 2, Victor is now going back to the caves to find Jasper. Jasper being a doll is another nod to ancient pagan imagery. Guys, if we look at the promo trailer for episode 6 of season 3, we see Victor and his dad going inside the tunnels. In those tunnels exists both Jasper and the cave paintings, while Randall seems to be creating another effigy in the bus. I don't know if you noticed in episode 5, while Boyd was going through the bus, he looked through Randall's things and saw a head. At first, I thought that was going to be a new talisman, but looking at it very closely, it looks very similar to the effigies that we saw in the ancient settlements. But Randall had never been out there, so how could Randall be recreating this unless he's under the control of the town? The creatures haven't killed Randall twice after having him surrounded, and we know Randall is still getting visions from the music box, the same way that Julie is still hearing screams from her ordeal with it as well. To me, the most interesting thing about all of this happening is why is it happening at the exact moment that Victor's dad has returned? Henry, I think, plays a key role into the overall narrative of what's happening right now, and that's because I think there's more to Henry than meets the eye. Henry told Tabitha that the last time he saw his kids was right before he went to work. He left them home with Miranda and he went off to work, and by the time he came back, his family was gone, and we know that they were transported to Frumsville. Henry still gives us more information after this. When he's talking to Miranda about the bottle tree, he says not only do they have one in front of his house, the very first bottle tree that they encountered was at a park nearby. It's while Tabitha and Henry are driving there that they get into a car accident that eventually leads them back to Frumsville. What if, as soon as Henry left, Miranda took her kids and headed towards that park and ended up in Frumsville? The real question is, why would Miranda take her kids and head to the bottle tree instead of taking them to school? What is it about Henry that someone's not telling us? And if we look at Victor, he may also be giving us clues about just what is going on with Henry. Victor has this thing where he subconsciously blocks out negative memories. That's why he forgot his sister Eloise ever existed. And in episode 5 of season 3, while he's talking to Sarah, he tells Sarah that he draws things from memory and he couldn't remember a time of drawing his father. But we know that may not be true because Victor seems to be drawing an evil man in some of his pictures. We have the family picture that he drew, and you see the dark shadowy figure that may be his dad being ostracized away from the family. And even in Victor's room, while Henry's going through it, we see a picture of an evil, dark-figured man, tying that to the way Victor was connected to Eloise and the fact that Miranda wanted to save the children. What children exactly? We don't know exactly who those children are or if it's a metaphor. It may be a metaphor representing saving the children from Henry, but why? That's really what I want the show to dive deeper into, and that's why I'm keeping an eye on Henry, because I don't know, something about him just seems a bit off to me, especially the way he was going through Victor's room, looking at the way Victor draws his images, reminding him of how Miranda started drawing images in their basement. And the one phrase that made him believe that Tabitha was telling the truth was when she said she has to save the children. We already know Miranda and Tabitha share a link because they're both the chosen one. Chosen by who exactly? We're not sure, but I do believe it is the boy in white. Initially, I thought the boy in white was one of the children that needed our help, but the more I'm starting to piece things together, the more it's starting to look like he may be one of the masterminds behind all of this. Because let's look at his actions for a second. Two of the most significant times we see the faraway tree's work involve the boy in white. In season 1, when he tells Boyd to get into the faraway tree, Boyd ends up underground and eventually getting the worms in his system. And it's while Boyd's in that predicament that the whole ordeal with the music box, another subtle nod to folklore mysticism, all that was orchestrated by Boyd following the direction of the boy in white. And when it comes to Tabitha, when she went through the faraway tree, the boy in white changed his voice and used the Ankui voice of the children to have her come upstairs. We see in the preview for episode 6 as well, Tabitha's also walking upstairs. She tells Ethan not to come up because she hears voices. We know the boy in white can use that voice because that's the voice he used to lure her in up to the watchtower before he pushed her out. Once he pushed her out, we saw him appear again in Camden. You could argue that the boy in white led Tabitha to Victor's father and pulled them back into the town. The other key to him getting in happens to be Jade breaking the effigy at the exact same time Tabitha's in the ambulance, and that causes Tabitha to come back to Frumsville. Listen, I believe in coincidences, but when it comes to Frum, you have to look at every angle of every angle. The real question I have for you guys is, why would he do this? What are some of your best theories? Let me know in the comment section below, and I'm going to be deep diving to the boy in white real soon. I just need to gather more evidence, because looking at the way he manipulates things, if he pushes you to the faraway tree, you end up okay. But if he doesn't send you and you go through that tree, kind of like Dale, you end up like the Juggernaut. But guys, that's just my thoughts on it. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it in the comment section below. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and until next time, peace.